Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. Basically today, Kyla was talking about something that kind of struck my interest. I seen like a random video that she just posted, I think probably today, and it actually like really interested me because on top of it, I really like talking to elder goths or people that have been in the goth slash post punk scene for a very long time. I know Kyla and Skullgirdle have been in the scene for quite a while, but I don't look at them as like old bats in an ignorant way. I look up to them. I really, really love seeing people that are adults in the scene. It makes me feel it's a very comforting thing to know that there is an adult that is not afraid to be themselves, that has found something that absolutely resonates with them, and it makes them very happy. And your stories are very similar to mine, especially Skullgirdle. Your story about how you know you were afraid to really be yourself, and then you finally said screw it, and you were yourself again. Because you've probably always been that way in your heart and in your mind, theoretically speaking. I really do look up to you ladies in general. That means the world to me, and it's a sense of security and love, knowing that there is people that is just as passionate with the goth subculture as I am, regarding the fact that I still technically am a baby bat. I still am a 19-year-old kid, but I've been into the gothic aesthetic since I was like 12. And basically, when I first got into it, I obviously was not very educated. I didn't know that it was a music-based subculture, and that is a fact. It is a music-based subculture. It did come from post-punk, and that pretty much is the basis of the goth subculture, because when it kind of rose out of the shadows of literature and art, and kind of just this weird thing that no one really talked about, except for like strange librarians, you know, it was not something that was very talked about at all. And when the music scene came around, it kind of created this really awesome thing. Like, I do truly believe there's been people like that have had that kind of mindset for years and years and years and years, hundreds and hundreds at least, but like the Victorians, like there was a lot of Victorians that were obsessed with death and obsessed with seances and Ouija boards, and romanticizing the idea of suicide, especially with women and stuff like that, and kind of making an artistical statement out of it, even though it's a very sad and tragic thing. The element of gothic has been around for decades. At least it's older than Nightmare Before Christmas. So I mean, you know, Kyla was talking about, I get sidetracked, but Kyla was talking about goth and how she feels that, it's a lot different than, it used to be in the 80s. And I do agree with that, and don't get me wrong, I think it's a wonderful subculture. I think it'll always be a part of me. I might not always self-identify. I don't know that I'll always dress the part. I'm not worried about that, you know what I mean? I'm just worried about being happy and living in the here and now. But, I'm very passionate about it, and I like talking about the goth subculture with especially elder goths, or elder bats or elder spooky people, uh, because it's really nice to get that kind of wisdom and knowledge from those people, because those people really are the most educated people, for the most part, that have been there since the 80s, and understand and respect and actually are involved with the post-punk movement, death rock, goth rock movement of the late 70s, early and late 80s, and so on and so forth. And I know there's goths that, kind of grew up around that, but didn't really get into that until the late 90s. But my point is, Kyla was talking about how she feels that it's kind of turned sour. And I understand that. I understand a lot of elders, especially people in the subculture, kind of look at it like that. I think for the most part, the subculture has upheld, and I think goth will always be goth and it'll always be around. It's going to be an aesthetic and an element that's always going to be there. It's always going to be a music-based subculture. That's... Sorry. The dog kind of cut in. But basically what I'm saying is, it's always been a subculture that's music-based. And it's become this all-encompassing thing now with fashion, music, mindset, the social life, and all that kind of stuff. And that's really great. That it's bloomed into much more of a subculture. That basically means a small culture within a bigger culture, and it's not counterproductive. They have similar beliefs as the mainstream, but they also are different because they don't really associate with the mainstream. It's kind of complicated. It's kind of hard. I'll get into that into other videos. A really good podcast to look at right now is called Cemetery Confessions, and it's on a website called thebelfry.rip. And a guy named Daniel runs this, Goth talk podcast, and it's really awesome. And he was just recently talking about this as well. And he had Mr. Owl that used to date Black Friday, and Barnaby was on there, and he was talking about his own opinions and things like that as well, and it actually did make a lot of sense. What Kyla was saying, she feels that it unfortunately has become this materialistic mainstream kind of practice where just buy mass-produced products, and that's all that matters about goth, and looking pretty, and being famous and being the most known goth above all of them. And it's just that's great. We have wonderful people in the subculture like Freya, it's Black Friday, who's very, very known and has thousands and thousands of people that are goth and non-goth or alternative or non-alternative that follow her. And that's a wonderful thing because she is a sweet person, and she's not doing it just for the views. She's doing it because she's enjoyed it, and it kind of became her hobby in her life, and she enjoys putting her life out there to, give a window to people that are alternative, to basically give us a better reputation. But, I think, over the years, it has been watered down. A lot of our practices have become mainstream because a lot of young kids that come into the subculture are more influenced by material things and by buying clothing from Killstar and from the Gothic Shop and all these kind of stores, and that's a lovely thing. And it is a blessing in one way because it's easier to get an achievable look that you're wanting to get, but it's also unoriginal because, it's taking away the artistic aspect that has always been there, the DIY aspect. That's why it was there, because back in the 80s, people worked very hard for their look, and now it's just kind of not there anymore. And it gets frustrating to a lot of older goths. It doesn't really frustrate me, but it does bother me a little bit. Like I had said in the other video, I actually ended up deleting it because, I don't know, I guess my mindset is still changing and changing and changing, and I think, it's better to just update your thoughts on things instead of just, keeping something and letting people believe it, if it changed and you're willing to open up and tell other people about, your ideology and the way you think. Because at the end of the day, it's just my ideology. It's just my perception on how I look at the subculture. But I think, it is bad because it's become this marketing thing where they're making money off of people that are freaky or different or alternative. And I think that's kind of ridiculous to look at it that way. Like I said, I think it is a good thing to, if that's what you want to achieve, that's fine, but I think it's also important to be artistical and, share your different ideas with each other, even if it's not clothing. But I think a lot of people are missing the point on the subculture. I think it's always been an appreciation of everything dark, spooky, and macabre, but it is a music-based subculture. And I think as long as you know and respect that, and you're participating in one point of the subculture or another, considering the fact that it is all encompassing thing now, and it's not just music, even though that is the absolute utter basis of the subculture, and like I said, it is a fact. The fashion has always been there, the mindset's always been there, the people, the social life, the going out, it's always been there, and it's important to stay connected with your subculture, even if it's unfortunately online, it's a good way because we don't all live very close to each other. We're all around the world. We're all spread out. It's not like a group of kids in a hallway in high school. It's not like that. It's real life, and there's people like us all around the world. Kyla's in Canada, so I can't really go down there as much as I would love to go down there and hang out with her. She seems like a really cool person, and I enjoy, conversating with her and conversating with Skullgirdle and most of my viewers. I love you guys, and I'm not here to bully you. I'm not here to upset any of you. I just want to discuss something. And also, she had brought up basically that she feels that, back in the day, she wasn't really told that she was beautiful or gorgeous or anything like that by people. And I don't really know what you mean by that. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just legitimately asking you a question. I think, was it people in our subculture, or was it people outside of the subculture? How did people think? I'm just interested in you making a video on this or a reply to this video, because it's something that most definitely intrigues me. And like I said, I enjoy talking to other elders about the subculture because I'm just as passionate of it as you guys are. And I'm always, always, always looking for your feedback. So don't be afraid to, leave anything in the comments. And if you don't agree with something, that's perfectly fine. You can leave it in the comments and we can talk it out. Just like of Herbs and Altars, Dorian, they basically was talking about how they were getting, ignorant comments and things like that. And instead of people talking it out, they would just ignore Dorian and not, put something that, not talking it out, basically. So I think as long as you guys talk it out, you have to understand that us as people, our mindset's going to constantly change no matter what we're into or who we are as people, regardless if we label ourselves or we don't. I know that labeling is kind of a difficult thing for a lot of us, but it does have a cultural meaning behind it. It's all these things, and I will get into it in another video, but I basically just wanted to talk about this because I'm kind of in the middle. I think even though I really do feel that, the subculture, unfortunately, is getting watered down, and it will continue to probably get watered down. I know that sounds bleak, but I think it will always, always, always be a thing. I think it will survive the test of time. It already has expanded. The Gothic aesthetic has, lasted all these years, so I don't think it's something that's going to die. I think that the subculture is getting back where it belongs. There's some weird stuff going on with a lot of kids buying things from stores and getting too materialistic with the subculture and missing the point, unfortunately. But, we can talk it out. And I most definitely want to hear from you as well. And hear from Skullgirdle or anybody else who is interested in the Goth subculture. And, if this video isn't for you, that's fine. But I'm not attacking anybody. I just kind of want to get a response from you and see what you think. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. And thank you for watching. Bye.